Hey kids, Lisa here. Just wanting to do a kind of fun catch-up June favorites video. I finished a few hours earlier posting a video response to Kasha's um, uh, how to work with the lows, with the blues. And, you know, I love to follow that up with something a little bit more fun, a little bit more upbeat. So June was kind of a tarot acquisition heavy month. And part of that was because it was my birthday. And so one of the things that I got in June as a birthday gift was a copy of the Tabula Mundi Tarot, the Coloris Arcus edition. And I have, I mean, you've seen this. It's an amazing deck with the, all of the, like the holographic, sort of the silver holographic foil on the back, the gorgeous coloration of the cards. I got it with the book, and I'm really excited to work with this deck, but I barely scratched the surface. So, it was my birthday, so that was cool. But it also, this was really, what was really more responsible for the influx of tarot yummies was that I posted a list on Eclectic Forum, I'll say a little bit more about that in a second, of tarot decks that I was looking to trade or to sell. And that just created this flurry of wonderful boxes leaving and coming to my home. So today, July 1st, for anyone who's a member of Eclectic Tarot Forum, you saw the announcement that Solandia, who created and has hosted and energized the forum for 17 years, is closing it down. Now, Eclectic Tarot, which the database of tarot decks and reviews, that will remain available. Stuff that has been posted on the forum in the public areas, I think, will also be archived on the internet and available, indefinitely. But this incredible resource, this incredible community is, scattering to the winds. For any of you who are interested in more news about that, I'll post a link to the Talking Tarot subforum, which is a public one, and you can kind of see what's going on. But I mentioned this, partly because, I've just had this flurry of trading thanks to Eclectic Forum, but also partly just as this reminder at how precious community is. I've only been a member of Eclectic Tarot Forum for a year and a half, and it's just been, it's been magical and wonderful and incredible. And for many of us, I think, people have been members for years and years. Their whole tarot journey has taken place in that online forum. So, yeah, Eclectic Forum. Eclectic Tarot. At any rate, communities ebb and flow, and this online YouTube community is deeply precious. So I'm grateful to share with you today some of the things that I acquired last month and things that became my favorites or came back into heavy rotation last month. And I think June, which for me was a month of dealing with a lot of heaviness in my life, it was also a time of really rediscovering a kind of simplicity and a kind of playfulness that's so precious to me, and sort of starting to think about ways in which, or to rethink ways in which tarot is part of that playfulness. So let me start by saying that I finally got a copy of a deck that has been on my wish list for a long time, but I didn't resist it, I just didn't get it. And that is Tarot of the Magical Forest, which Kelly Bear talks about a lot as her favorite deck, as a hug in a deck. And she has a beautifully trimmed edition of it. And, for a long time, I thought I didn't like cute decks, and then I realized that I didn't like the wrong kind of cute decks. I really didn't like the Hesychos Tarot, which I had briefly, and I don't think I would tune in well to the Happy Tarot, just from what I've seen online. But this deck, I love it. I love it. I love it. The readings I've been having with it have they've been, oh they've just been thrilling and delightful and delicious, and I don't know why. And when I've worked with it a little bit more, I'm going to try to do a review, just to get a sense of what is so valuable about this deck. And I just also want to say, Los Scarabeo, they know how to do cardstock. They know how to do tuck boxes. Why can't everyone be like Los Scarabeo? Dang it. Anyway, so Tarot of the Magical Forest. Part of why I bought this deck when I did was because I've been thinking about, ways that I can bring tarot into my mindfulness education for people who don't do tarot. So I teach mindfulness, and I bring mindfulness principles to tarot practice and to tarot enthusiasts. But I've never used tarot in my regular kind of vanilla mindfulness education. And I've been thinking about how to do that. And not just how to bring oracle cards, because actually on occasion I've brought soul cards into a mindfulness class, but how to bring tarot, how to bring that system, that very profound, universalized system of 78 cards into a mindfulness education context. And one of the things I thought was, a deck like this one is something that that wouldn't scare people away, and might have a kind of easier on-ramp. The other thing I thought about, and this had to do with one of my old favorites that I kind of rediscovered this month, or I brought back out of storage, and that is my tarot, Raven's Prophecy Tarot, which I love. I love this deck so much. I love Maggie Stiefvater's books, and I love this deck. And one of the reasons I love this deck is because her interpretation of the cards is really brilliant and really takes them into a place that elevates the ways in which the four elements inform the cards, takes that in a sort of really deeply universal, how do we even put this? Like, you don't need to know anything about tarot, I think, to resonate with these cards. Now, there are lots of people who don't resonate with these cards, but let me just say, so this is one of my favorites on the top. It's certainly my favorite depiction of the Seven of Wands. So what do I love about this? So for me, the Seven of Wands is all about, it's the card I call the Bodhisattva card. So, the way in which the traditional iconography of it, has that kind of stand your ground kind of, I'm looking for it. Hold on. There we go. That kind of stand your ground imagery. He's got the advantage. He's above the other assailants. So there's a sense that he's warding off the attackers, right? And you can see that as like a reminder that you can do this, you can defend yourself, that you've got more resources than you're aware of, and that you can stand your ground. That's one way to read this card, right? But for me, it's this idea of what does it mean to protect and to be willing to, in one's own person, encounter all of the ways in which the world brings suffering. It's kind of like, it's linked to my Buddhist sense of what it is to be a bodhisattva, which is to realize that one's own enlightenment, one's own salvation, one's own happiness will only be achieved if everybody is happy. Like, I can't be happy independently of a whole world of happiness. My happiness is your happiness, right? So I love this card where, literally the protector is shielding the lights of others. He's not vanquishing assailants, but he's shielding the lights of others and putting his own body, his own hand, his own power, his own agency in the way of what might extinguish the light. I love it. Anyway, it's stuff like that where I feel like Maggie Stiefvater takes the tarot's universal language and makes it even more universal. So I had this idea. Her deck could also be a deck that I could use in a more, in a broader context, in a mindfulness setting where people who don't do tarot, don't know anything about tarot, aren't looking for tarot readings, might resonate with her deck. And I thought, why don't I buy a second copy of her deck and trim it? So I did. Oops, and I'm in the process of trimming it. And one thing I want to say is that if you were wondering, here's another piece of evidence that the new Llewellyn cardstock is not the old Llewellyn cardstock. So the new packaging of Llewellyn decks, nice, magnetic, more like oracle boxes, you know, kind of nice little ribbon, blah, blah, blah. Isn't that lovely? But the cardstock, now maybe Kelly from the Truth and Story won't mind, because Kelly, you like things to shuffle easily, but I mean, the difference, you can even see the difference in thickness just in this video. So this is the new one. So anyway, I've started to cut this deck to trim it, and others have done trimming videos about this deck, and I may do a little video, like a little show and tell about the way that I'm trimming it, because I have a little system that I think is working really well, and I'd love to share it. The backs get screwed up, but the deck itself, deck itself, if I could keep from dropping it, it's very slippy, these new Llewellyn decks. The deck itself is looking quite lovely, and my feeling is that without the titles, this deck now becomes something that people would be able to resonate with, and I, as a mindfulness educator, could use what I know about the 78 cards, but whoever I'm working with wouldn't need to buy into, be deeply aware of that kind of structure, that tarot structure. Okay, so thinking about play, thinking about sort of more universal voices in my tarot decks, that also got me interested in another historical deck that I didn't have a copy of, and that is the Royal Fez Moroccan, which I acquired through eBay. Now these can be very spendy. So I got one that is not in the greatest of shape, and I got it for, I don't even know, for like an absurdly low price. It smells a little bit of, it smells, I guess, like pipe tobacco maybe, or air freshener. Yeah. And it's a little bit bowed. It's, the deck is, can you see, it's like a little bit, it's actually improving. I've been trying to flatten it out, but it was a little bit kind of bended. So the cardstock for this vintage deck is very, very cardboardy, which I actually really love. So it's very thick and matte. And you'll see, I won't do a real flip through because there's some good ones already online, but there's just something just charming about these line drawings, the sparing and incomplete use of color. You know, it's a totally Rider-Waite-Smith clone. I mean, these are Rider-Waite-Smith images, but the depiction, and if you even just like look at like the features of the lady and the lion, I mean, there's something kind of innocent. It reminds me of 19th century illustrations or early 20th century illustrations in children's books. You know, these lined like Edith Nesbit books. You know, like these line drawings. It's just, it feels like the world of fairy tale, I guess, and I love it. So I haven't done any readings with it. I've just started to get to know it. I love it. So it's a deck that I think has some deep meaning and mystery in it, but it comes to that deep meaning and mystery through the land of fairy tale and, you know, 19th century, early 20th century children's books. You know, it's kind of, it's a simpler vocabulary in a way, if that makes any sense. Okay, along those lines of like simple and just sort of charming, one of the decks that I traded for was a Swedish, so this is the Swedish Witch Tarot, the Hollanda Tarot, and it's in Swedish. This is, I I believe the first edition of this deck was self-published. This is the second edition by Fisher and Company. And I love it. First of all, I'm thrilled by the quality of this deck. Like I love getting decks that have been in someone else's possession. And I don't mind if they feel used and well loved. But this deck, it's just pristine. And it's funny, the woman that I traded with for it, she's like, yeah, it's a little scuffed. She really undersold it, underestimated it, which was just delightful. Look at that hermit. So this deck is kind of quirky. I, of course, don't have any of the meanings, and the names are not when we get to the minors, you'll see that it has titles, and I'm going to have to go to Google Translate because, I was thinking that German would help me. Look at that world, universe. Look at it, beautiful. I was thinking that. So here's the Ace of Sword, and there's some Swedish title. Like, I'm thinking that might be joy, because it's sort of close to German Freude, but I don't know. And that this is worry. I'm just guessing from what I know about languages. But fortunately with Google Translate, you can start to get to know these languages. Anyway, so that's the Swedish Witch Tarot. It's just charming and delightful, and one of these days I will know it well enough to give it a full review. If you want me to do a full flip through of it, just let me know. Same thing with any of these decks, because I'm not going to look at them all the way through. Also in line with this notion of simplicity, I think I acquired Tarot of the Crone this month as well, also through a trade. And this is the second edition, and I mentioned it in my 22 Faves video. So, it's quickly kind of leapt into heavy rotation because it's so interesting. But I don't have the booklet. I have some information about the cards. It's a very idiosyncratic deck. I am thinking I might get the newly released edition too, which just has plain black backs, but so that I can get the booklet for it. But anyway, I love the cardstock, and I love the spiderweb back on this older version of it. And I just love the simplicity and clarity, the beast of discs, the pig, right? I love the way in which she's done the quartz as the beast, the shadow. What's the other things that she calls the king and the queen, the grandmother, and the witch. I love her Ellen Lorenzi Prince's translation of the tarot according to her own vision. And I think she does it with all of her decks. This is the only one I know. I have the Dark Goddess Tarot in the Fool's Dog app, but Tarot of the Crone is the only one I have a hard copy of. Love, love, love. Okay, what else? I also acquired in a trade the second edition. Actually, I think it was the first edition after. No, this must be the second edition. It's borderless of the Circo Tarot, and I have not even done a reading with this. I've looked at the cards, and that's all. It's a deck that I had wanted for a while, and it's now come to me without me having the time this month to really dive in. But I could not resist getting it through this trade, and I know it's going to be a deck that I enjoy. Although I have to say, much as I love the images and the colors, The glossy cardstock is a real big turn off. So if any of you know, if you have the most recent edition of the Circo Tarot, if it's not glossy, if it's matte, let me know, because I really, really don't like glossy cards. Okay, what else? It's been a busy, busy month. Okay, one last nubbin of things. Another part of the trading frenzy that I encountered this month had to do with my recent discovery of Atanassov, the Bulgarian artist who did a whole bunch of work for Lo Scarabeo in their Golden Tarot series. He's one of the artists that they turn to when they want an artist to replicate other artists' work. So, like in the Klimt Tarot, so someone who can take Klimt's drawings and kind of recreate them, or Klimt's paintings, and bring them into a tarot setting. So it's not just clip art, it's not just collage, it's actually a recreation. That's what Atanassov does, and that's what Lo Scarabeo does when they try to bring the art of a classic painter into their decks, their art decks, which I think is amazing. They're not just doing collage work, they're actually doing thoughtful, integrative art, reconstructing the work of another artist. Anyway, Atanassov is one of the artists they lean on. He is, in fact, the artist that for their Golden Visconti Tarot, he's the one who does the 4 missing cards. So if you know, for instance, like this is the US Games version, which I haven't opened yet. I just got it 2 days ago, and I'm waiting to get the Il Meneghello large version of this deck. I have the smaller version, and also to get Atanassov's Golden Lo Scarabeo, so that I can do a comparison, because every time you buy a Visconti Sforza, those 4 cards are going to be reproduced by somebody. So US Games has Luigi Scapini do the missing cards. That's really cool. Lo Scarabeo has Atanassov do the missing cards, and then Il Meneghello has someone else doing the missing cards, and I can't remember the name of that artist. But I think it would be really cool to compare the 4 reconstructed cards. At any rate, Atanassov. So he did a bunch of golden decks for Lo Scarabeo, and I want them all. And I was thinking I would acquire them slowly over time, but then in the middle of the trading frenzy that was June, there was someone who was interested in a couple decks that I had, and we were able to make a trade where she gave me 3 Atanassov decks, plus the Tarot of the Chrome. Many, many, many thanks to this wonderful trader. Trader, not traitor. You know who you are, and I thank you deeply. So these decks are so deeply beautiful, I almost can't bear to have them. And I have not worked with them. I am hoarding them in my cupboard of love for sort of unveiling at moments when I really need the golden sunshine of these decks. But let me show you what they are. So first of all, and this I think is maybe the most scarce, although you can get all of these pretty readily. So this is the Golden Tarot of the Tsar, and it's Atanassov's response to Russian Orthodoxy's use of iconography, and all of the cards relate to, they all are drawn from traditional iconographic imagery. So the magician is, Jesus raising the dead. This, of course, is, I'm not saying of course, I imagine this is Sophia, the personification of wisdom. This is the Virgin Mother. Anyway, it's, the gilding is itself exquisite. The images are exquisite. The colors are, my camera's not even quite capturing how just delicious the color combinations are. Even the red borders. When you see copies of this deck online, I think it doesn't always look as appealing as it is in person. You sort of think, red, why is it red bordered? But it's just gorgeous from start to finish. Now, how does it read? I have no idea. I haven't tried to work with it, although I'm really interested in Russian Orthodoxy and went through a whole period in my life when I was interested in the mystical traditions within Russian Orthodoxy, Eastern Orthodoxy. So the pips look like this. They have a simple icon in the middle with the, so this is from batons, from wands, with the imagery of the suit on the side. So they're pippish, but they have imagery discs. It's a beautiful, beautiful deck, which I am very excited that I own and will soon get to know, or at some point. I also got a copy of Atanassov's Pocket Klimt Tarot, and this packaging is just so delightful. This box, lift-off box. Now, the woman that I traded for this had edged these cards in black, which she did a beautiful job. And, you know, it's clear to me that I'm going to have to get a full-size version of this deck. Of Atanassov's golden decks, probably the Klimt is the one that's maybe the best known, but to me it's actually the least interesting. I mean, Klimt is gorgeous, and you know, like if you look at the lovers, his kiss. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer to do a golden version of his decks, but I'm not as interested in this as I thought I would be. But that's okay. That's okay, because it's still freaking beautiful. So the Klimt Tarot in its delicious little box. I mean, how freaking adorable and gorgeous is that? But then, and this may just be the prize of the prize, the Botticelli. This is so beautiful. I mean, again, she edged it in black really beautifully. These are the backings. It's so beautiful. I mean, do you ever have this experience where it's hard to see the gold? Do you ever have this experience where a deck is so beautiful that you almost can't look at it? Is that just crazy? I mean, look at that. From the Four Seasons. Or is that from the Birth of Venus? I'm not sure. Just freaking beautiful. Oh my God, look at Justice. Okay, so, and then, you know, there's pippishness in the suits, but more, oh God, look at that. The Ace of Wands, so that's the Annunciation. I mean, just look at that. More imagery than in the Golden Tarot of the Czars. So the images really fill the page, fill the card. Okay. A lot of tarot, guys. A lot of tarot. Anyway, June was a month that was very full. Good and bad, light and dark, and then a full measure of goldenness, of golden, delicious, yummy tarotness. Okay. Take care, guys.